Hey, Divine Being. Before we get into today's episode, I want to take this moment out to invite you into a holistic space for spiritual integration, my membership portal. There is where we go beyond inspiration and into true transformation. Inside, we focus on stabilizing the nervous system while integrating spiritual growth in a way that honors the mind, the body, and the spirit. It's not just about chasing our expansion and abundance. It's about becoming steady enough to hold the expansion and abundance that is already ours, that is coming to us, that has always been fortuned for us. Enrollment is limited and only open 2 times a year, this being one of them. The doors will close March 31st. There is a live membership event that happens each month, and this month is special as we are focusing on the spring equinox. We'll be using the spring equinox's energy to support us in balancing, regulating, and stabilizing our nervous system so that the changes that we have been talking about and making in the beginning of this year really take root and it doesn't overwhelm our system. We'll also be gently digesting the psychological and physical effects of the March 3rd lunar eclipse. You didn't know there was a lunar eclipse that just happened? Or maybe you did. Maybe you didn't realize there were things to do to help integrate those energies into our body. There is. And we'll be working with that too in this member only live event in the membership portal. It is time for us to really understand how energetic events can impact our body and how to consciously integrate them into ourselves rather than haphazardly moving through life or potentially bypassing the work that we can be leveraging from these energies. So if you are ready and you feel called to do this grounded work and you desire additional support for you and your nervous system so that you can truly transform and walk in the full abundance, baby, then I invite you to join me and the other community members before March 31st so that you can take part in this special activation and all of the beauty that this love integration portal has to offer you. By the way, all of the information to sign up is in the show notes, and you can always go to zyadivine.com for more information. I look forward to seeing you there. And now let's get into the podcast episode. Brr, 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 brr. Mwah. Rewind that, Zaya. Forgiveness of self is the divine act that removes from your soul the guilt and judgment of self that was limiting the expression of the God that you are. Welcome to Conversations with the Ancestors, where we connect to ancestral wisdom, cosmic insight, and healing rituals to redeem and liberate our souls. You're here because your higher self and your ancestors brought you here. So get your tea or coffee, take a breath, and settle in because, baby, this is for you. I have died, and when people die, you can't call them up like you used to. You can reach them, but you have to tune into their frequency. When people die, you don't get a heads up or a warning, it just happens. When you're jumping timelines, you will feel the magnetic pull to go back because your jump is still close enough to feel the energy and the energetics of where you jumped from. So what's the guidance? Maybe some cocooning, hermit mode again, Cut the cords you allowed to reattach before they hook you back to the old timeline that you just escaped. The longer you let this be, the longer you postpone your happy. So cut the cords, release the old, let it stay in the grave so that you ascend. Remember, no more Mr. Nice Guy. A timeline death, a timeline jump is what I was going to say, but apparently it's a timeline death for many of us. It is a death to the old timeline and version of you that lived on that timeline. The jump to the new timeline is a birthing, and births can be hard, even traumatic at times. Sometimes the baby may slide back into the womb, i.e. the old timeline. But universe, Mother Nature, our higher selves, the destiny and our purpose, the things we really don't actually control, pushes us out into the world of the new timeline. And until the umbilical cord is cut, we might still try to reach out for the old way of being, the old way of receiving our nutrients, the old way of connecting. And even after the umbilical cord is cut, there is still that little piece that hangs on at the belly button area until it falls off. That's the falling off of the last of the old life. When the true last pieces of the umbilical cord is released and the belly button begins to form. It is then that we have connected to the new timeline. The baby doesn't do anything to make this cord come off. If anything, it is the mother who might put some ointment around that area to allow the facilitation of that, i.e. Mother Earth, i.e. universe, i.e. God, source, divine being. But it happens naturally, even without the mother putting ointment. This umbilical cord coming off is a natural occurrence, and it can happen with ease or fight. However, when we surrender to what naturally occurs, the process is smoother than fighting or lamenting the inevitable. I hear talk a lot about timeline jumping, and I don't know that we give enough credence to the process and the death and the rebirth that occurs when you jump a timeline. A lot happens in this process, and it can look and be messy. Blood everywhere, plasma in places you didn't know existed, tissues tearing. And people can die during the birthing process, during the rebirth of yourself. In fact, there are times that others must die for you to transform. Others must be left aside. Mothers die during childbirth. A family member dies, and then shortly after, a baby is born. Death and rebirth happens all around us continuously at the individual and communal level. The more we understand it at a micro level, the more we understand it at the micro level. Because there is a whole universe within us that we consider to be micro. And we see our 3D outside of us, and we consider that to be the macro universe. It is all happening simultaneously in the same ways. So the transition and the death that you are going through within this timeline is not just happening in the micro within, it is happening in the macro. So when you understand what's happening with you in an individual level, you see what's happening in the world around you. Understanding at all levels of being is important until you realize that we are all one, and observation and experience happen simultaneously, and there is no separation between you and I, no right or wrong, it's just balance. It's just balance. That was an excerpt from something I wrote last year when I was going through another timeline jump. Last episode, we went into the rebirthing of yourself and stepping into, wow, I have rebirthed. What does that look like? When something rebirths, there was also a death. A death has occurred. And it is okay to take time out to mourn who you were, to mourn what you carried, to mourn what you carried for your ancestors, to mourn that your ancestors were carrying too much. Feel it. In this moment, as we step out of the grave and step into our new timeline as this rebirthed being, it's okay to take a moment to look back and be sad about what you are letting go. What things from the old timeline cannot come with you. It's okay to mourn that a friend can't come with you. It's okay to take time out to just say, man, there were certain things about that old timeline that I enjoyed. The process of grief is a friend. Grief is the friend that shows you what you've traversed and how you are now a new being. Grief reminds you that there was love, there was joy. Timelines that we left weren't all bad. There was something in there that was joyful, that made you smile. Grief is there to show us, hey, it is okay to feel your feelings. Matter of fact, the whole human experience is allowing ourselves to feel the feelings. We go through that experience because we want to feel what that experience has for us. Have you ever asked yourself, what does it mean to be God? And God began with a thought. Like our thoughts, the essence even behind our thoughts is us. So in your deepest core essence, at the beginning of time, there was this moment where God began to contemplate itself. And in that contemplation began thought forms. And from that thought form began the formation of the earth and all of the things that came with it. And as we continue to think about, what would dirt look like on this earth? What would the skies look like? I'm going to create that. My thought now has created and imagineered something. However, being that essence behind the thought didn't have the ability to interact with the things that it's creating. Think about the essence behind a thought. Can it feel? Can it touch? It's created all these beautiful, beautiful things. But without the embodiment to experience the beautiful thing, to smell the flower that God created, there's a portion of the God being that's missing out on that. And that is why these vehicles, our bodies, were put together. So that our God essence can be housed in this vehicle of the body. And being housed in it then allows us to experience the creations that we create. It allows us to feel the refreshingness of the water go down our throat. It allows us to smell the beauty of the flower. It allows us to use our taste buds to taste the fruit and the juiciness of grapes and watermelons. And not only does this embodiment allow us to experience taste and all of our five senses, it allows us to feel and express emotion. That is a part of our being. We get the opportunity to experience our creations, to create new experiences for us. Then we experience that. And in experiencing that, we get to have the emotion of that experience. Something we did not have access to in our thought essence being, in our thought form. This is why our body is so important, because it allows us to experience the fullness of how we create as gods. Therefore, when we do not feel the feelings, when we stuff them down, when we say, I don't want to be angry, when we say, I don't want to feel the sadness, when we say we don't want to feel the frustration, when we ignore the irritations and we just light in love, when all of that takes place, we have removed one of the biggest things that we came here to do, which was to experience and feel. And grief, sadness, anger, depression, all of those things are feelings that were meant to be felt, that we came here to feel. And I know I have been depressed. I have been deeply angry. I have felt all of the things, and I have also been the person who numbed those feelings, who said, nah, I don't want to feel that, who said light and love, who said, I'm just going to go ignore it and do whatever. I've been that person. So I'm not like out here just talking from this like level of, I don't get it. I get it. We are on this healing journey together. I get it. And I'm here to tell you, in the I getting it is the knowing that if I did not allow myself to begin feeling all of the feelings, it was wreaking havoc in the body. What happens to things that don't get expressed? They end up getting suppressed, not just into our psyche, but into the mechanisms of our body, which then cause degradation in the body. And once your body starts degrading and you don't even know why, it's because you're not expressing your feelings, among some other things that can help degrade the body. What I'm trying to tell you is that running from your emotions create a bigger emotional pitfall to face later. And that pitfall can show up as stress, as cancers, as hair loss, as a litany of other things, including death. And again, it is an amalgamation. It's not just not expressing your emotions that can lead to these things. It is an amalgamation of other things that come together that can take you on that journey. However, we're talking about grief and mourning the old version of you, and how it is your God-given right to feel and express your emotions. It is a part of the purpose of you being here. So feel the grief of leaving an old timeline. Let the emotion move through and out of your body, however that needs to be. A scream, a cry, a deep reflection, a dance, a jig, a woo-de-woo, pop, 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 pow. I don't know what it looks like for you, but whatever it is, express it, feel it, release it, so that you can fully lay that timeline to rest and you can fully release the energetics of the timeline that might still be percolating through your body. Because if the emotion is still in there, if we have not allowed ourselves to grieve the old thing that we have left, that means there is still a hold, there is still a cord from that timeline coursing through your body. And we are talking about how to stand fully in your new timeline so that you can embody the fullness of who you are and who you want to be and the manifestations that you want. So feel the feels. If you need support processing those feelings, talk to a therapist, get a coach, watch YouTube videos and listen to frequency meditations. Come join me in the Love Integration Portal and use the tools there. If you need support, tell your ancestors you need support releasing and alchemizing the grief and the sadness or whatever feelings you're feeling. You are never alone. You do not have to choose to move through these things alone. The emotions are real. The heaviness are real. The energetics that come with those emotions are real. I know it. I know it. I have lived it. And I stand here today in a much happier space in my life because I finally allowed myself to actually feel all of the feelings. Cry when you want to. If someone asks you, how are you doing today? Really tell them. Really tell them. Don't hold back no more, because you really telling them is going to help them see that, man, I can be that transparent. I need to start expressing myself that way. You living fully in your authenticness allows and inspires others to live that way too. So show up, express, and do your God-given right to hold and feel and move through your emotions and grieve the timeline that you are leaving. Grieve the old person that you used to be. Grieve the friends and the relationships and the old business partners and the old ways of creating. Grieve all of it so that you can leave it fully in the grave and it does not come with you. It does not stay in this nervous system of the new being that you are. Let's take a quick break.
This is for you. This is for you. This is for you. Ancestors, it's for you. This is for you, for you, for you, for you.
Next, as you come into this new timeline and you embrace who you are now and you leave that grave, forgive yourself. No one is ruled by the past. It is your thoughts, your perception, your attitude towards the past that creates your feelings toward the past that then dictates the past rulership over you. I'm going to say that again. You're not ruled by your past. It's your thoughts, your perceptions, your attitude towards the past that then creates your feelings toward the past. And those feelings, those attitudes, that then dictates the past rulership over you. How much the past creates feelings of self-distrust, distrust of the universe showing up for you, distrust of God, who is you, showing up for you. So forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Release anything in the past that you felt you did wrong, any perceptions that you associate with shame or whatever. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for maybe feeling like you didn't show up for yourself well enough. Forgive yourself for feeling like maybe you didn't show up for others in your family system or whoever well enough. Forgive yourself. When you forgive yourself, you release the past and you release any perceptions that you assigned to it. So each moment that we live and we experience XYZ and we experience XYZ, it is one, right, to feel the feelings, to have the experience. And it's also to gain insight and wisdom. So know that whatever happened in the past, you have gained the insight and the wisdom that you need to gain from it. So forgive it and release it. The only bearing the past has on the present is that you already learned all you could learn from it. The only bearing the past has on the present is that you have already learned all you could learn from it. Whether or not that learning was conscious or unconscious, whether or not you fully understand what you have learned, whether or not you have processed it completely, it does not matter. The wisdom has been brought in, and those wisdoms, those things that you have learned from those past experiences are now playing out in this present moment because it brought you to who you are now. It brought you to this new timeline. It brought you to releasing this grave. This is why reflection is helpful. This is why listening to podcasts like this and doing your work and integrating is helpful, because it helps us identify what wisdom was gained from past experiences. It helps us to begin to refine our wants. The wisdoms that we gain from our past experience now help us see, okay, I had this experience. I didn't really like how that played out, but I still want like pieces of that. So now what I'd like to imagination and engineering put together. We talked about this in the last episode. But now what I want to re-engineer is this way of it being. I want it to look this way now. And I want to experience that and see if that actually is what I want. Because if it's not what I want, I had that experience. Now I can re-imagineer and create something else. These past experiences, your past timeline, the grave that we are leaving, it all helped you refine and define who you want, what you want, and your desires. They sharpened your thought process. They sharpened what you envision for yourself and what you want to experience next. So again, it's okay if you can't name what knowledge or wisdom you received from a certain individual past experience. Because sometimes it's like multiple experiences that create the one wisdom that you need. The old versions of us gave us wisdom. And it is us who choose to allow the past to plague us with grief, consume us with fear and guilt. And I want to encourage you that in this new timeline, in this new you, break the loyalty to suffering. Break the cord to unworthiness. Release the holds of any and all ancestral weight and forgive yourself. Extend more compassion to yourself and create a new contract, a new cord to joy, to pleasure. Create a new connection to inner peace. Create a new deep self-love for yourself. That's what forgiveness does. Forgiveness of self helps you release the past, any perceptions that you assign to it. And this level of self-forgiveness brings liberation and true embodied freedom. I'm going to tell you, I was one of those people who thought I didn't have anything to forgive of myself, of my past self. I thought, I don't live with regrets, so what do I need to forgive myself for? Regrets and self-forgiveness are two different things. Most recently, I forgave myself for giving my power away to external circumstances and people. I don't regret doing it. It was an experience I needed to have. And I forgive myself for all of the turmoil and hurt and that came along with it. There is deep liberation power in self-forgiveness. I'm going to read this quote from this book called Ramtha, the White Book, out of chapter 13, page 181. Forgiveness of self is the divine act that removes from your soul the guilt and judgment of self that limit the expression of the God that you are. Rewind that, Zya. Forgiveness of self is the divine act that removes from your soul the guilt and judgment of self that was limiting the expression of the God that you are. So basically, when you forgive yourself, it is a divine act. And in that divine action, you are removing and scourging from and cleaning off from your soul any guilt, any self-judgment, all of the things that were limiting how you are able to express your full divinity as God. That's what self-forgiveness does. Do more of that. Extend grace to yourself. And even if you feel like you ain't got nothing to forgive of yourself, then extend more self-love and compassion. And talk to your inner child and tell them that you love them and you forgive all of the ways that maybe you didn't show up for your inner child. Ooh, spirit, that's a different podcast episode. That's a different episode. I'm gonna put a pin on that one. Honey. Oh, today we are talking about the steps to leaving the grave as you hone in and step into this timeline. We've moved through grief and self-forgiveness. Now I want you to tap into, you're going to have to check for some ghosts, baby. You're going to have to check for some ghosts that's trying to hang out with you on this timeline release. They're trying to come. You got to check for the ghosts and release them. When you enter a new timeline, not everything from the old timeline can come with you. Things, peoples, thought processes, old programmings, old ways of being, energies that do not align with you and the new timeline will need to be left behind. Left behind in the dust, in that grave. I don't know why I'm looking over here like the grave over here. The grave must be over here on this side. For those who are watching the podcast, every time I say leave something in the grave, I keep dabbing my head to the left, to the left, to the left. And I'm just like, what is this metaphorical grave over here on the left that I keep nodding to? But yeah, like when you leave a timeline, think about how when we move from one location to another, when you move, you not taking that whole house with you to the new location. I mean, unless you have like a trailer, a portable house that you can do that. But like most of us aren't. Okay. Think about the times when we moved and you didn't have that available to you. So when you move, you're not taking a whole house. You're not taking your neighbors. Your neighbors got to stay there. You're not taking the school district. Maybe you move to a whole new school district. Things don't come with you when you move. You have just moved from one timeline to another. There are stuff that do not come with you because everything has a season and a reason. Last episode, I asked you to be more aware of your environment for signs of timeline shift. And thinking back on your observations, what are other things that showed up to signal what else might be ready for you to release? As you observed and looked for the timeline shifts, you probably observed things in your environment that weren't really resonating anymore. Things that you feel are ready to let go. Because in this new timeline, as you rise up from this grave, You are allowed to put down unaligned relationships, unaligned friendships, unaligned family. You are allowed to let go and release and leave in the old timeline, leave in that grave stuff that don't fit. You can leave behind old versions of yourself. We've mourned those. That's why the mourning and grief process is important, because it helps us leave what doesn't fit. You can leave and let go of ancestral weight. You can leave and let go of programming and old stories that you used to tell yourself and old stories that you allowed yourself to live by. Release them. They don't need to come with you. And one of the things that's helpful in this practice of knowing what doesn't need to come with you energetically is naming out old vows, old contracts, expired roles that you used to hold, expired expectations, right? Like that timeline version of me at one point, this is just an example, the expectation was, as a mother, I take my kids to school every day by 6:15 a.m. However, this new version of you recognizes you don't have the space energetically to do that. So release that expectation and put somebody else in charge of that. Maybe your auntie, maybe your uncle, maybe the baby daddy, maybe the other parent, maybe another caregiver, whatever it looks like. Maybe it's a bus schedule. Maybe they're old enough to actually start taking the bus. All I'm saying is review what roles now have expired because you are a new being, because you're in a new timeline. And again, it is okay. You are allowed to put those things down. When you looked in your environment and you looked around, checking to see what the timeline shifts were looking like in your environment, did you also notice just like stuff that don't feel like they're resonating with you anymore? Like tchotchkes, clothing items, knickknacks, souvenirs, even expired food in the refrigerator. What in your home, in your closet, in your environment represents things of the old timeline that you are now ready to let go? And even if you don't think you're ready to let go, think of the new being that you want to be and ask that person, does this fit with who we want to be, with who we are stepping into? If you look in your closet and 50% of it you have not worn in over a year, maybe sit with it and ask yourself, does this actually fit who I have transformed into? There actually might be some things in there that you haven't worn because you felt like you weren't ready to wear it. And now this new being of you is like, actually, it's time for me to put that on. It's time for me to rock them joins right there. It's time to rock that purse. It's time to, whatever it is. Take a look at your environment and see what needs to stay and what needs to go. Donate it. Get a tax write-off. Give it to a family member in need. However you need to let something go, let it go. Y'all remember Marie Kondo? The lady who was about sparking joy whenever you look at things that you desire, that you want. Marie Kondo it, okay? Bless and release what you need to release. Bless and release old items. Bless and release old programming. Bless and release old friendships. Bless and release whatever needs to release, and keep the things that spark joy. Keep the things that are fully in alignment with what you're feeling, who you're feeling, and who you are transitioning into be. Because just because you moved to your highest timeline doesn't mean those items, those energies, those past relationships, those past people moved with you. I do believe that once we evolve as individuals, we all evolve because we're one. So every time I evolve, you're evolving. Every time you evolve, I evolve. And it's just a continual thing because we're one, right? So if you've evolved into your new timeline, this highest timeline of yourself, I would expect that other people in your environment has also evolved. However, the measure of their evolution is different from the individual to individual. So you might have stepped into your highest of highest timelines, and they might have stepped into one timeline up. There's not really a hierarchy, but you know what I mean? Like, so you can't really expect others to get the new you or even expect yourself to fully get the new them because they've changed. And so have you. Change is the only constant. So we're constantly evolving, i.e., we're constantly changing, we're constantly growing. We are infinite and limitless gods, beings, humans. So, as some people haven't shifted in the way that you have, they may try to pull you back into what they thought you used to be, who you used to be. They may try to pull you back into that type of timeline action, testing your resolve, and assuming that you will act and respond the same way that you did in the past. This is where the next part of moving from this timeline grave, crossing the threshold into the new timeline, this is where it is important for you to know who you want to be in this version of yourself. Who are you now? Identify clearly to yourself who you are now. Because that's going to help you create boundaries. That's going to help you show and tell people who you are so that they begin to treat you the way you want to be treated. Because as you learn to be this new version of you in this new timeline, by your actions, by showing up, you'll be teaching other people how to interact with you, how to interact with the new you. Again, back to that mentioning of when someone asks you, hey, how you doing today? Really tell them that might be a new thing for you. And in that newness, you are creating a boundary with this person. You are expressing to them how to engage with you. So now the person knows, okay, when I ask Zya how they're doing, Zya gonna really tell me. And I'm gonna do with that information what I need to do with it. But it teaches them how to interact with you. So now is the time to begin identifying who you are in this new reality, in this new timeline. Because this is our origin story. We are at the point of origin. How will you identify? You are at that doorway, that threshold. We come up out the grave. We at the threshold. How you gonna walk through the door, bro? Because you got the power of expansion behind you, pushing you out the womb. So identify who you want to be. At this time, Neptune has entered into Aries, and so has Saturn. Now, why do I bring up Neptune and Aries? Well, because I just mentioned you got the power of expansion behind you. Neptune is the planet of the dreams, deep, deep water and subconscious desires. Saturn is the planet of make it real, sometimes called the taskmaster. But Saturn will ground whatever you trying to imagineer. Saturn helps ground that. Neptune helps you think past the edges of what you might be thinking already into the limitlessness of your creativity. So, in this moment, when we are imagineering the new person, having our origin story moment, calling in the power of Neptune to support your mind's expansion into what it is you really want to see. And then Saturn's energy to help ground what you want to see into the 3D. Those two energies are now in Aries. And Aries. Aries gonna get some things done. Okay. Aries is the start of the zodiac. Aries Aries is origin. So all of these energies are coming together to support you in identifying who you want to be, and they gonna make it happen. And then on top of that, Pluto is in Aquarius. And Pluto is initiation into power. Pluto is the planet that moves societies, transforms generations. Pluto supports you as you initiate into power. It's the transformer. It's the death and rebirth bringer. And Pluto is now in Aquarius. Aquarius is about power to the people. Aquarius is the one that makes you feel like you can do anything you want to do. Really, if you have an Aquarius friend, they gonna be like, yeah, we can do that. Let's do it. Like they really inspire others to step into their power. So Pluto being the planet of initiation into power, and Aquarius being about bringing power to the people, now is that divine time where collectively as a human race, as the man God that you are, we are at the place where we can take our power back. And in taking our power back, we are using all of these energies to help us define who we are as we take our power back and who we are as a collective as we take our power back. Divine being, take your power back. Imagine what you want for your life. This is the time. This is the time. Examine all of the ways that your power has shown up in the past and ask yourself, is that how you want your power to show up now in this new version of you? Examine the ways that you might have relinquished your power in the past and ask yourself, how do you want to move forward now? Imagine the ways that you might have thought about power only being for you, and how can power be for not just you, but the people? Listen, ask yourself, deeply ask yourself, who do I want to be in this moment? How do I want to step into my power? And how can I even share and support our community, our collective, in stepping into their power so that we all can embrace our power? Because in this Pluto and Aquarius time, it's not just about the individual anymore. It is about the collective. We're stepping from the grave, and that is a defining moment. It is a threshold into the new. This threshold holds limitless possibilities on how you redefine yourself. This is a seed moment where you can plant the seed of how you want to redefine your life. And the work you did before, the wisdom that you gained, all of that is now fertile ground around you. It's fertile ground around you. Think about what happens when things die and they are buried into the ground. Mother Earth and all of her wisdom and all of the ecosystem that is Mother Earth decomposes, breaks down that thing that was buried and turns it into a richer soil. That location now is richer because of what was previously buried there and the ecosystem coming and the nitrates popping out and all of the things percolating together. Time for the percolator. It's time for the percolator. And that's what manure is, right? It's the feces, the dead stuff that's coming out of the animal's body that is released, and that is released and placed into the ground to feed the soil, to feed the ecosystem so that that soil is richer for the seed that gets planted next. You have put an old version of you into a grave. You've released it. And now that old version of you that is put into that grave, allow it to decompose. And it's making a fertile ground around you. So right now, you freshly from your grave, there is fertile ground right where you stand. Fertile ground for you to plant how you want to redefine your life. Fertile ground for you to plant the seed of how you want to embrace your power. Fertile ground for you to bring your dreams, Neptune, into this 3D reality, Saturn. I mentioned that with Aquarius, it's about the collective. And that this timeline shift, I've said it in the first episode, is collectively a timeline shift. That's why so many of us are feeling it and seeing these changes, because collectively we have shifted and we're more aware of it, we're more awakened. So this is a time of togetherness. And when you think about graveyards, they have many graves. Grave here, another plot here, another plot here, another plot here. They pack those suckers in. And all of us are stepping out of our graves now, surrounded by multiple fertile grounds. I'm stepping out my grave. Hence my new name, Zya Divine. Call me Zya. They call me Stacy. That's not my name. Hey, that's not my name. My name is Zya. So call me Zya, babies. Call me Zya. But yes, we're all stepping out of those graves. I've stepped out of my grave. You stepping out of your grave. This person stepping out of their grave. We are stepping out of our graves. And in stepping out of our graves, as I mentioned, we are surrounded by fertile ground. And with this Aquarius energy of liberation for the people, we can hone in on the, if one ain't free, we ain't free. Remember that? That if we all not liberated, if we all ain't free, no one is free. That's where we at now. That's why your voice is so important. That's why you showing up in your authenticity is so important. That's why you deciding who you want to be and showing up as that inspires others to show up as their authentic self and who they want to be. And together we look around and we are walking in a new system. So take a look around you. and see how your story, how reflections of you, parts of your story might be playing out in others that are around you. Because it's not a silo. This is where, again, compassion really begins to shine. By seeing yourself in others, you have greater compassion. If you didn't do the forgiveness work at the beginning of this episode, and giving yourself the self-compassion, it's hard to have compassion for others. So please do that work. But we are truly in the process of becoming. And so things might be happening lightning fast. Endings might be occurring super quick, swiftly. Even some endings might be happening drastically and devastatingly. Please be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with those around you. Aquarian energy is very, very nervous system related. So if you find yourself having moments of overthinking, obsessing, trying to plan every detail of this new version that you are, pay attention to those thoughts and what your mind might be grabbing a hold of. And then ask yourself, what are these thoughts communicating to me? And then even deeper than what they're communicating, ask yourself why you're having the thought. Is there a ghost from the past, an unaligned programming, unaligned energy that is bubbling up in you right now, speaking to you, showing you what needs to be cut and released so that again you can cross this threshold from your gravesite into the new you, the new world. Also, when you're having thoughts, if you're noticing that thoughts are ruminating and this thought is coming up and this thought is coming up, those thoughts don't always have to be bad. They can be thoughts about who you are moving into and creating and examining and having fun with that. Any thought that you are having that you feel bubbling up in you, as you ask yourself, why am I having this thought? Also ask, is this a thought that I want to keep? Is this a thought that is aligned with my dream life? Is this way of thinking a part of how I want to redefine myself? And I want to encourage you to move slow. Things are happening fast. Endings might be happening fast. But it is okay to move slow. You don't have to do this in a fast-paced way. Take your time, because we have a whole year of the horse ahead of us. Okay? A whole year. And even think about horses' energy. When you see a horse, are they always running and galloping? They be chilling. They be moseying about, eating their grass and their hay. The horse is not always running and galloping. They do that when maybe there's a startle, or, they've got their, the person is on them and ha, ya, yep, ha. Even horses in horse races at the track, they don't start off super fast. They have to pick up speed. It takes time for the horse to actually go fast, to reach its maximum speed. There might be a walk, a prance, a gallop, and so on before they actually reach their fast pace. So give yourself the time to breathe into who you are. And Pluto gonna be in Aquarius for a long time. Baby, you have time, okay? You have time, you have space to be intentional, to be sure about who you are becoming and who you'd like to be and what you'd like to do. Honor the transition. Be in the now of the moment. A really great plant ally as we work to integrate all that I've talked about in this episode is dogwood. And I am going to read an excerpt from this oracle deck called Dirt Gems Plant Oracle. I'm going to show this on the screen for those who are viewing. And this is what the card looks like. It's a really beautiful deck. It's called the Dirt Gems Plant Oracle deck. And the plant ally is dogwood. I'm going to read the description for us. Dogwood, the loyal. For those who feel hardened by their own history, dogwood is a powerful reminder of how to learn from what has come before and then become something entirely new, not determined by past scars. This elegant plant ally will help you discard feelings of threat and violation. Dogwood stops the memories from radiating their pain and lets the scars ripple and melt back into the body. Dogwood builds core strength and resilience, bolstering our resolve by softening the jagged edges of our story of what is, what has been, and what is to come. We invite space to focus and create when we stop working so hard to steel ourselves against the inevitable pain and struggle in life. Dogwood rewires the nervous system when our fuses are blown. Consider the electricity of the body and how it is like all other electrical systems and currents. Dogwood allows this system to reset. If you have decided that you are a certain way and incapable of change, dogwood is a friend that says, you can be whoever you want to be. You can decide today, I am new. Today I make different choices. Today I am confident and assured. Today I am generous. Every day we decide our story. We decide how we work with what we have. And we decide how we treat others and ourselves. That was the excerpt from Dirt Gems, Plant Oracle Guidebook and Deck. My dear, dear divine being God, you have permission to live differently. Cross the grave. Let go of the past and embrace the wisdom you've gained from that past. That wisdom is really the only thing that truly serves you and us as a collective moving forward as we create this new world. We are all walking together out of this graveyard into the new world which we again are creating. So take time and decide how you want to show up and who you want to be when you leave these graveyard gates. Before you return to your day, give yourself a moment to integrate what we have discussed, to reflect back on some of the questions that I've posed, to rewind and listen to a certain part and ask yourself those questions and sit in journal and reflection. And even if you don't have the space to do that, do this with me. Take one slow breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Notice your body. Notice the surface or ground beneath you. Notice that you are here now, not in the past. You are here now. If any emotion surfaced while listening, let it move through you. Let it move out. You don't have to analyze the feeling, the emotion. You don't have to fix it. Just allow it to pass through you like water. You may say silently or out loud, I release what cannot walk forward with me. I forgive myself for who I had to be to survive. I bless the past and keep the wisdom. I am free to become someone new. If it feels supportive, I'd like for you to place one hand on your heart and one hand on your lower belly to help anchor yourself in this present moment. Imagine anything heavy, anything outdated or unresolved. Imagine that gently draining down through your body, out into the earth, to be composted and changed and alchemized into the fertile ground that we are planting the new seeds of your being into. Know and reassure yourself that you are not abandoning your past. You are transforming it into nourishment for what comes next. And ask yourself one simple question. Who do I choose to be as I step forward from here? Know that you don't need to have the full answer today. Allow a feeling, a direction, even feeling a single word or knowing is more than enough. When you're ready, open your eyes if they were closed. Look around your space. And notice one thing that belongs to your life now and that does not belong to your past. Let's take one final breath. I want to remind my love integration portal members to join me in after the conversations in the membership portal. As we do our final closing, take that final breath. Breathe in, out through the mouth. You have crossed the threshold. Move gently as your system reorganizes around this new version of you. Your ancestors, the old versions of you who are ancestors too, are not asking you to carry everything forward from that old timeline. They are simply asking you to live. And by the way, if you would like to join the Love Integration Portal, the membership is now open from March 3rd until March 20th. At that time, the membership doors will close because we are talking about integration. And in integration, we don't have a revolving door of people coming in and out. So if you feel called to be a part of the Love Integration Portal and meet me in the after the conversations and so many other offerings that are housed there, go to zyadivine.com and you'll see it. Again, it will only be offered and open until March 20th. And then it'll close. And we as a group, as a membership, will continue to do the integration work. I love you deeply, divine beings. And I send you light and love in its purest form. You are amazing. I look forward to hearing and seeing who you Imagineer you want to be in this new timeline. I love you, and I'll see you next time. I'm Zya, and this has been Conversations with the Ancestors. Mwah. Bye! Conversations with the Ancestors is produced and edited by Zya Divine. Theme music, For You, written and co-performed by Robin Denise. Continue your integration work in the Love Integration Portal at zyadivine.com. Once again, that's zyadivine.com.